The mining station orbited a dead moon in the Kepler 442 system, far from Earth's warm embrace. Commander Zara Chen stared at the holographic display floating above her desk, watching red warnings blink across 12 different sectors. Each one represented a ship that had gone silent in the past 3 weeks. Vanished without distress calls, without wreckage, without explanation. "Show me the pattern again," she said to the station's artificial intelligence. The display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional map of known space. Red dots marked the disappearances, spreading like a disease from the outer rim toward the core systems. Toward Earth. Zara had seen many things during her 20 years in the Colonial Defense Force, but this felt different. Wars had patterns. Pirates had motives. This was something else entirely. Something that moved with terrible purpose through the darkness between stars. Her communicator buzzed. "Commander, we have an incoming vessel. No identification beacon. No response to hails." She straightened in her chair. "Battle stations. Launch reconnaissance drones." The mining station wasn't built for combat. Its weapons were designed to crack asteroids, not fight enemies. But Zara had learned long ago that survival often depended on making do with what you had. Through the observation window, she watched the approaching ship emerge from the shadows. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the station, built from materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The hull moved with an organic quality, rippling like water despite being solid metal. "Analysis?" Zara demanded. "Unknown composition," the AI responded. "Energy readings are off the scale. The vessel appears to be powering weapons systems." Zara's hand hovered over the emergency transmission button. If this was what had been destroying the other ships, Earth needed to know. But before she could press it, the unknown vessel opened fire. The first blast tore through the station's eastern wing like paper. Alarms shrieked as atmosphere vented into space. Zara grabbed the edge of her desk as the floor tilted beneath her feet. "Return fire! All available weapons!" The mining lasers swiveled toward the enemy ship, cutting through space with focused beams of energy. They struck the dark hull and scattered harmlessly, absorbed into that strange material without leaving a mark. A second blast hit the station's core. Metal groaned and twisted. Through the window, Zara saw escape pods launching, tiny specks fleeing into the void. She hoped some would make it to the nearest relay station, hoped someone would carry word of what was happening here. The enemy ship moved closer, its weapons charging for a final strike. Zara closed her eyes, thinking of Earth, of the blue oceans and green forests she might never see again. Then something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to tear open between the station and the attacking vessel. Not a wormhole or a jump point, but something cruder, more violent. Reality buckled and split, and through the gap came another ship. This one was smaller, sleek where the enemy was massive, bright where the other absorbed light. Its hull bore markings Zara had seen only in history books, symbols from the first colonial era over 300 years ago. The ancient ship moved with impossible grace, sliding between the station and its attacker. Weapons deployed from hidden ports along its frame, weapons that glowed with a fierce blue light. When they fired, the enemy vessel's shields flickered and failed. Zara watched in stunned silence as the ancient ship systematically dismantled its opponent. Each shot struck with surgical precision, targeting weak points that shouldn't have been visible, exploiting vulnerabilities in technology that was supposedly unknown. Within minutes, the massive dark vessel was drifting debris, its threat ended. The mysterious savior turned toward the damaged station. A communication channel opened and a voice filled the command center. It was human, unmistakably so, but there was something strange about the accent. Something old-fashioned in the phrasing. "Mining Station Kepler 442 Delta, this is the Guardian Protocol responding to distress. Are you capable of basic life support?" Zara found her voice. "Barely. Who are you?" That ship design is centuries out of date. A pause. I am Captain Marcus Webb, and you are correct about my ship's age. I have been away for quite some time. How long has it been since the Exodus initiative launched? The name meant nothing to Zara. I don't know what that is. The year is 23A7, Earth Standard Calendar. Another pause, longer this time. 342 years, I see. That's impossible, Zara said. No human lives that long. No ship can operate that long without resupply. Under normal circumstances, you would be correct. These are not normal circumstances. Commander, how many ships has Earth lost to these attackers? Zara felt a chill run down her spine. You know about them? I know what they are. I know what they want. And I know that humanity has very little time before they reach your homeworld in force. That vessel you just saw was a scout. The main fleet is larger than you can imagine. The holographic display flickered as new data streamed in from the ancient ship. Zara stared at the numbers, at the projections, at the estimated enemy force composition. Her hands began to shake. This says there are thousands of them. Tens of thousands. At minimum, Captain Webb confirmed. They are called the Vex, though that is merely a translation of their own designation. They have been moving through this galaxy for millennia, consuming every civilization they encounter. 342 years ago, Earth detected the first signs of their approach. We had perhaps a century before they arrived, maybe less. So we launched the Exodus initiative. A colony mission? Zara asked. No, a defense mission. We sent ships into deep space, loaded with the most advanced weapons and shields humanity could devise. We sent them with skeleton crews with experimental technology that might extend human life far beyond normal limits. We sent them to buy Earth time. I volunteered for one of those ships. Zara looked at the ancient vessel on her display, at the weapons that had so easily destroyed an enemy her own defenses couldn't scratch. You've been fighting them for 3 centuries? Sleeping mostly. The Guardian Protocol keeps me in stasis between encounters. When the ship's sensors detect Vex activity, it wakes me. I engage, I eliminate the threat, and I return to sleep. Over and over, for hundreds of years. I have fought in star systems whose names I never learned, protected worlds whose people never knew I existed. Why didn't you return to Earth? Why didn't you report? Because the mission was always meant to be one way. We knew that if we survived long enough, if we delayed the Vex advance sufficiently, Earth might have time to develop better defenses. We were never supposed to go home. We were the forgotten protectors, the shield that humanity would never see. Zara felt something twist in her chest. She had grown up hearing stories about the brave colonists who had ventured into unknown space, about the heroes who had founded the first extrasolar settlements. But no one had ever mentioned ships sent out to die alone in the darkness, fighting enemies that hadn't even reached human space yet. How many of you were there? She asked quietly. 50 ships, 50 captains. I have not heard from any of the others in over a century. I believe I am the last. The weight of those words settled over the command center like a shroud. One man, one ship, fighting alone for longer than most civilizations existed. Captain Webb, Earth's defenses have improved significantly since your time. We have weapons, shields, faster-than-light drives that will not be enough, he interrupted. I have been monitoring your communications, reviewing your technology. You have made impressive advances, Commander, but the Vex have been refining their capabilities for millions of years. They adapt to every weapon, every tactic. The vessel that attacked you was operating at perhaps 10% of maximum capability. It was testing you, learning from your defenses. Zara's mouth went dry. If that was 10%, then you begin to understand the magnitude of the threat. I destroyed that scout before it could transmit its findings to the main fleet, but there will be others. The Vex know humanity is here now. They will come in force. What do? You send a message to Earth. You tell them everything I have told you. You warn them that the Vex are coming, and that they have perhaps 6 months to prepare. And then you evacuate this station and fall back to more defensible positions. And you? Zara asked. I will do what I have always done. I will fight. I will delay them as long as possible. I will buy humanity every second I can. You can't hold off an entire fleet alone. No, Captain Webb agreed. But I can make them pay dearly for every system they take. I can force them to commit resources, to slow their advance. Every day I buy is another day for Earth to prepare, another day for your people to live. Zara looked at the ancient ship, at the last guardian from an age before she was born. Come with us. Return to Earth. You've done enough. I took an oath, Commander. To protect humanity from threats it cannot see. To stand watch in the darkness so that others might live in the light. That oath has no expiration date. Before Zara could respond, the ancient ship's weapon systems activated again. On the display, 2 more Vex vessels were emerging from deep space, larger than the first. I must go, Captain Webb said. Transmit your warning, Commander. Make sure Earth is ready, and tell them that the Exodus initiative succeeded. Tell them we did our duty. The communication channel closed. Zara watched as the ancient ship accelerated away from the station, moving to intercept the new threats. Its weapons blazed with blue light, and space itself seemed to shudder from the force of the battle. She turned to her communications officer. Open a priority channel to Earth Defense Command. Maximum encryption. They need to hear this. As the message compiled, Zara looked back at the battle raging in the distance. The ancient ship was outnumbered, outgunned, facing enemies that had destroyed civilizations older than humanity itself. But it fought with a precision and ferocity that spoke of centuries of experience, of a warrior who had forgotten more about combat than most soldiers ever learned. The Vex vessels tried to flank, to overwhelm with superior numbers. Captain Webb's ship danced between them, weapons finding weak points, shields redirecting incoming fire back at the attackers. It was beautiful and terrible to watch, a ballet of destruction performed by someone who had been doing this longer than Zara had been alive. One Vex ship exploded in a cascade of light. The other attempted to retreat, but the ancient vessel pursued, relentless as death itself. Within minutes, the second enemy was reduced to drifting wreckage. The ancient ship paused, hanging in space like a sentinel. Then it turned toward the outer rim, toward the darkness where more enemies surely waited, and vanished into faster-than-light travel. Zara's hands moved across her console, finalizing the message to Earth. As she prepared to transmit, she added one final line to the official report. The Forgotten Protector has returned, but the shadows spreading across the stars are deeper than we ever imagined, and we are not ready for what comes next. She pressed send and hoped humanity would listen before it was too late. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood before the assembled Defense Council in Geneva, watching their faces as they processed the information from Commander Chen's report. Some looked skeptical. Others looked terrified. All of them looked unprepared. This is insanity, General Harrison said, his American accent clipped with disbelief. One man claims to have been fighting aliens for 3 centuries, and we're supposed to reorganize our entire defense strategy based on his word? Based on the evidence, Sarah corrected. Commander Chen transmitted detailed scans of the Vex technology, along with combat footage showing Captain Webb's vessel destroying 3 enemy ships that our own weapons couldn't touch. The Science Division has analyzed the data. They confirm these vessels are using technology far beyond our current understanding. So we have one friendly contact and multiple hostile ones, the Chinese delegate said thoughtfully. What does this Captain Webb suggest we do? Sarah activated the holographic display at the center of the council chamber. He provided tactical assessments and defensive recommendations before departing to intercept more Vex scouts. According to his projections, we have approximately 6 months before the main fleet reaches Earth. His exact words were that humanity has built impressive toys, but we're children playing with them. Arrogant, Harrison muttered. Accurate, Sarah replied. He's been fighting these enemies longer than any nation here has existed. If he says we're not ready, we should listen. The European Union representative leaned forward. What are his recommendations? Sarah began highlighting sections of the display. First, we need to consolidate our defensive fleet. No more scattered patrols. Every warship capable of reaching Earth within 5 months needs to be recalled immediately. Second, we need to retrofit our vessels with enhanced shielding. Captain Webb transmitted specifications for a shield harmonics system that can partially deflect Vex weapons. Third, we need to evacuate non-essential personnel from Earth and establish backup command centers in the outer colonies. Evacuate Earth? Harrison stood abruptly. That would cause mass panic. Staying would cause mass extinction, Sarah said coldly. The Vex don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. Every world they've encountered has been stripped of resources and life. We have 6 months to prepare for the largest invasion in human history, and we're wasting time debating whether we should take it seriously. Silence fell over the chamber. Finally, the Secretary General spoke. Admiral Okonkwo, you have authorization to implement Captain Webb's recommendations. Whatever resources you need, whoever you need to conscript, consider it done. But I want daily updates, and I want to speak with this captain myself. That may not be possible, sir. He's engaged in delaying actions across multiple systems. His communication windows are unpredictable. Then we work with what we have. The Secretary General looked around the table. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we're going to war. The Council dissolved into urgent planning sessions. Sarah remained at the holographic display, studying the projected invasion routes, calculating response times, trying to find some advantage against an enemy that had conquered countless civilizations before humanity had even invented writing. Her communicator buzzed. Admiral, we have an incoming priority transmission. Source signature matches Captain Webb's vessel. Sarah's pulse quickened. Put it through to my private office. She hurried through the corridors of the defense complex, her mind racing. If Webb was contacting them again so soon, it meant something significant had happened. The office door sealed behind her, the holographic projector activated, and a figure materialized above her desk. Captain Marcus Webb looked exactly as Commander Chen had described, tall with dark hair going gray at the temples, wearing a uniform that was 3 centuries out of style. But it was his eyes that struck Sarah most. They were old in a way that had nothing to do with physical age, carrying the weight of battles fought alone in the darkness. Admiral Okonkwo, he said with a slight nod, I apologize for the abrupt contact. Events are accelerating faster than my initial projections suggested. What's happened? I have engaged and destroyed 17 Vex scout vessels in the past 4 days. That's more than I've encountered in some entire years. They're committing significant resources to mapping human space, which suggests their main fleet is closer than I initially calculated. Sarah felt her stomach drop. How much closer? 4 months? Perhaps less. They're moving faster now, less cautious. I believe they've identified humanity as a priority target. Why? We're just one species among millions they must have encountered. Webb's expression became grim. Because we survived their initial scouts. Because our technology, while inferior to theirs, is advancing rapidly. The Vex have learned that species capable of technological growth are the most dangerous in the long term. They will want to eliminate us before we become a genuine threat. Then we're flattered, Sarah said dryly. What can you tell us about their fleet composition? Webb gestured, and data streamed into Sarah's systems. The main fleet consists of approximately 12,000 vessels, ranging from scouts like the ones I've been destroying to dreadnoughts that dwarf your largest battleships. They move in a coordinated swarm, with advanced vessels in the vanguard and support ships spread throughout. Their command structure is distributed, making it impossible to disable the fleet by destroying a single flagship. Sarah studied the numbers, feeling cold dread settle in her bones. 12,000. We have maybe 300 ships capable of engaging capital vessels. You're outmatched in every category, Webb agreed. Numbers, technology, experience. In a straight fight, humanity loses, so we don't fight straight. You have a plan. The beginning of one. I've been observing Vex tactics for 3 centuries. They're effective but predictable. They rely on overwhelming force and technological superiority. They don't expect resistance to adapt or innovate during battle. That's our advantage. One advantage against 12,000 ships. It's more than I had when I started, Webb said. Admiral, I need you to do something that will seem counterintuitive. Don't recall all your ships to Earth. Sarah frowned. But you recommended consolidating our defense. I recommended consolidating your defensive fleet. But not all of it. I need you to keep 30% of your vessels scattered throughout human space, conducting what will appear to be normal patrols and operations. Bait, Sarah realized. You want them to think we're unprepared. I want them to think you don't know they're coming. The Vex will have detected my presence by now. They'll assume I haven't warned anyone, that I'm operating alone as I have for centuries. If your ships suddenly mass at Earth, they'll know you're expecting them. They might change tactics, split their fleet, hit your colonies instead. But if most of your military appears unaware, they'll commit everything to a single strike at Earth, Sarah finished, and we'll be ready for them. Exactly, but there's a cost. Those ships you leave scattered won't be able to reach Earth before the battle begins. The colonists, the crews, everyone in the outer systems will be vulnerable to any Vex forces that slip past the main engagement. Sarah closed her eyes. Command always came down to impossible choices, but this felt particularly cruel. How many people are we talking about? Approximately 400 million across all the outer colonies and stations. 400 million people I'm condemning to potential death. 400 million people who will definitely die if the Vex take Earth, Webb said quietly. If the home world falls, humanity falls. The colonies can't survive independently, not against an enemy like this. You save Earth, or you save nothing. Sarah wanted to argue, to find some alternative that didn't involve sacrificing so many lives, but she had studied warfare her entire career. She knew Webb was right. Sometimes survival required horrific calculations. I'll need to sell this to the Council. They won't like it. Then don't tell them everything. Tell them you're keeping ships on patrol to prevent the Vex from learning too much about Earth's defenses. Tell them whatever you need to, but make sure those ships stay scattered. And what will you be doing while we prepare? What I've always done. I'll keep destroying scouts, keep the Vex attention focused on me rather than Earth. I'll make them angry, make them commit more resources to hunting me down. And when they finally decide to attack in force, I'll lead them right to your trap. That sounds like a suicide mission. Webb smiled slightly. It's been a suicide mission since I launched 342 years ago. I've just been taking my time about it. Captain, you could return to Earth now. Help us prepare. You've earned rest. I stopped earning rest the day I took this mission. Besides, I'm more useful out here, disrupting their operations, buying you time. Every scout I destroy is one less intelligence report reaching their fleet command. Every day I keep them focused on me is another day for your engineers to implement the shield modifications. Sarah studied his face, seeing the determination there, the acceptance of his fate. They'll write about you, you know. When this is over, you'll be remembered as a hero. I don't need to be remembered. I need humanity to survive. That's the only thing that matters. The transmission flickered. Webb glanced at something off-screen. I have incoming contacts. 4 vessels this time. They're getting bolder. Can you handle 4 at once? I've handled worse. But Admiral, there's something else you should know. The Vex are beginning to adapt to my tactics. The last few engagements took longer, required more ammunition. They're learning. How long until they adapt completely? Unknown. Weeks, perhaps, maybe days. But I'll keep fighting as long as I can. You focus on getting Earth ready. Captain Webb, Marcus, thank you for everything. He nodded once, his expression softening briefly. Take care of our people, Admiral. Make sure the sacrifice means something. The transmission ended. Sarah stood alone in her office, the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. Outside the window, she could see the lights of Geneva, millions of people going about their lives, unaware that their world stood on the edge of annihilation. She activated her communicator. This is Admiral Okonkwo. Initiate Defense Protocol Artemis. I want all available resources redirected to the SHIELD modification program. And get me the colonial governors on a secure channel. We need to discuss strategic redeployment. As her staff acknowledged the orders, Sarah pulled up the tactical display again. 4 months, maybe less. 4 months to prepare Earth's defenses, to fortify the homeworld, to give humanity a fighting chance against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations far older and more advanced. And out in the darkness between stars, one man in an ancient ship bought them every second he could, fighting battles no one would ever see, dying slowly so that others might live. Sarah made a promise to herself then. If humanity survived this, if they somehow defeated the Vex against all odds, she would make sure Captain Marcus Webb was never forgotten again. The Exodus Initiative, the 50 ships and 50 captains who had given everything to protect a world that wouldn't remember them, would be honored. But first, they had to survive. And that meant making hard choices, accepting terrible costs, and trusting that one man who had already given 3 centuries could give just a little more. Sarah turned back to her work, coordinates and defensive calculations filling her vision. Somewhere in the darkness, the Vex fleet was coming. And somewhere closer, a lone guardian fought to slow them down. The next 4 months would determine whether humanity had a future at all. 3 months and 27 days after Commander Chen's first encounter, the Vex arrived. They emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, thousands of dark vessels materializing like a plague of locusts. Their formation stretched across millions of kilometers, a swarm so vast it blocked out the stars. Admiral Okonkwo watched from the command bridge of the EDS Unity, humanity's largest battleship and the flagship of Earth's defense fleet. Around her, 210 ships hung in carefully calculated positions, forming a defensive sphere around Earth and its moon. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it wasn't enough. Vex fleet composition confirmed, her tactical officer reported. 11,843 vessels detected, ranging from scout class to super dreadnoughts. They're holding position at maximum sensor range. They're studying us, Sarah said. Calculating odds, looking for weaknesses. How long until Captain Webb arrives? Unknown, sir. His last transmission was 6 hours ago. He was engaging enemy forces near Jupiter's orbit. Sarah had seen the combat reports. Webb had been fighting continuously for 4 days, barely pausing between engagements. He had destroyed over 200 Vex vessels during humanity's preparation period, but even his ancient ship had limits. The latest scans showed significant damage to his hull, power systems operating at reduced capacity, ammunition reserves running critical. He was dying out there, spending his last strength to buy them these final hours. Admiral, the Vex are moving. The entire fleet is advancing toward Earth. Estimated time to engagement range, 43 minutes. All ships. This is Admiral Okonkwo. Power up weapons systems, activate shield harmonics, and remember your training. We're not trying to win this fight alone. We just need to survive long enough for the plan to work. Acknowledgments flooded in from across the fleet. Sarah could hear the fear in some voices, the determination in others. These were good people, brave people, about to face an enemy that had destroyed worlds beyond counting. The Vex fleet accelerated, moving with terrifying precision. Their formation shifted as they approached, adapting to counter the defensive positions humanity had established. Whoever commanded that swarm had studied their tactics, anticipated their strategies. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Sources, Admiral, it's Captain Webb. Put him through." Webb's face appeared on the main display, and Sarah had to suppress a gasp. He looked exhausted, his uniform torn and stained with blood. Behind him, sparks flew from damaged consoles, and warning lights cast his features in harsh, red illumination. "Admiral, I've led them right to you as promised. The main fleet is committed. No reserves, no secondary forces. Everything they have is heading for Earth." "Captain, what's your status?" "My ship has seen better centuries. Life support is failing, weapons are down to 20% capacity, and the faster-than-light drive is completely offline. But I can still maneuver, and I still have one trick left." Sarah felt her throat tighten. "Marcus, you've done enough. Break off and retreat to Earth. We can protect you." "No, you can't. And you'll need every ship focused on the main fleet, not babysitting mine. Besides, I told you 3 months ago that this was always a one-way mission. I made my peace with that a long time ago." "What are you planning?" Webb's expression became almost serene. "The Vex command ships are in the center of their formation. They're massive, heavily shielded, virtually indestructible by conventional weapons. But I've been analyzing their energy signatures for 3 centuries. I know their shield frequencies, their reactor patterns, their structural weak points, and my ship still has one operational fusion reactor." Sarah understood immediately. "You're going to ram them. Use your ship as a bomb." "More elegant than that. I'm going to overload my reactor at the exact moment I penetrate their command ship's shields. The explosion will create a cascade effect, taking out at least 30 vessels in the immediate vicinity. More importantly, it will disrupt their coordination. The Vex rely on constant communication between ships. Cut off the command structure, and they'll revert to autonomous mode. Individual ships are dangerous, but a coordinated fleet is unstoppable. How long do we have after the detonation?" "Maybe 10 minutes of confusion before they reorganize. You'll need to hit them hard in that window, cause as much damage as possible. After that, it becomes a straight fight again." "We'll be ready." "Captain Webb, Don't," he interrupted gently. "No goodbyes, no speeches. Just promise me you'll make them regret coming here. Promise me humanity will survive." "I promise. We'll remember what you did here. All of you, all 50 ships from the Exodus Initiative. You won't be forgotten again." Webb smiled, and for a moment, Sarah could see the young officer he must have been 3 centuries ago, before the long war, before the endless loneliness of his mission. "Thank you, Admiral. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date with Destiny." The transmission ended. On the tactical display, Sarah watched the icon representing Webb's ship accelerate toward the approaching Vex swarm. It moved with impossible speed, dodging between enemy vessels, absorbing fire that would have destroyed any other ship instantly. "All vessels, stand by," Sarah ordered. "Target the command cluster. When Captain Webb strikes, I want every weapon we have pointed at that location. We make every shot count." The Vex fleet opened fire, thousands of weapons targeting the single ship racing through their formation. Webb's vessel twisted and turned, shields flaring with each impact, leaving a trail of plasma in its wake. Several times, Sarah thought he was finished, but somehow the ancient ship kept flying, kept pushing forward. "He's penetrating their defensive perimeter," the tactical officer reported, awe in her voice. "He's reached the command cluster." Sarah leaned forward in her chair, watching as history unfolded. The ancient ship, battered and burning, slammed through the shields of the largest Vex vessel like a spear through paper. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the universe turned white. The explosion was beautiful and terrible, a newborn star blooming in the darkness of space. It consumed the Vex command ship instantly, then spread outward in a wave of pure destruction. 38 enemy vessels vanished in that first second. The shockwave rippled through the fleet, disrupting power systems, overloading shields, causing chain reactions throughout the tightly packed formation. "Now!" Sarah roared. "All ships open fire!" 210 human vessels unleashed everything they had. Railguns, missiles, plasma cannons, experimental weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. The barrage struck the disoriented Vex fleet like a hammer, exploiting the confusion Webb's sacrifice had created. Enemy ships exploded, their shields still recovering from the shockwave. Others collided with each other, their navigation systems scrambled. For 10 glorious minutes, humanity struck with impunity, and the Vex could do nothing but die. But Sarah knew it wouldn't last. She watched the tactical display, counting seconds, watching as the enemy fleet began to reorganize. Individual ships established local communication networks, forming smaller coordination groups. They were adapting, recovering faster than Webb had predicted. Vex fleet is reforming, Tactical confirmed. New command structure established. They're targeting our forward positions. The battle became chaos. Ships on both sides exchanged fire at point-blank range, void filling with debris and escaping atmosphere. The Unity shuddered as enemy fire struck her shields, warning klaxons blaring throughout the bridge. "Forward shields at 60%, engineering reported. "Port side taking heavy damage." Sarah made rapid calculations. They had destroyed perhaps 1,000 Vex vessels during the confusion, but that still left over 10,000 enemies. The math was brutal and simple. Humanity would lose, unless the second part of the plan worked. Communications, send the signal. Authorization, Omega 77. Throughout the solar system, in positions the Vex had already passed, the trap sprang. Ships that had seemed abandoned suddenly powered up, emerging from hiding places among asteroids and planetary rings. These were the 70 vessels Sarah had kept scattered on Webb's advice, waiting for this exact moment. They struck the Vex fleet from behind, targeting engines and power systems, sowing confusion and forcing the enemy to fight on two fronts. At the same time, the mines humanity had secretly placed throughout the approach corridor activated, hundreds of fusion warheads detonating in precisely calculated patterns. The Vex fleet reeled, caught between Earth's defenders and the ambush forces. For the first time since arriving, they seemed uncertain, their formation fragmenting as individual ships tried to respond to threats from multiple directions. "Keep the pressure on," Sarah ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides died by the dozens, then by the hundreds. The Unity took hit after hit, her shields failing, her hull breaching in multiple locations. Sarah felt the deck tilt beneath her feet as the artificial gravity fluctuated. "Admiral, the starboard reactor is going critical. We need to evacuate that section." "Do it. Redirect all available power to weapons. We're not running." On the tactical display, Sarah watched the numbers shift. 4,000 Vex vessels destroyed. Then 5,000. Human losses were catastrophic, over half the fleet gone, but they were taking the enemy with them. Then something unexpected happened. The Vex fleet began to withdraw. Sarah stared at the display, not quite believing what she was seeing. "Confirm that. Are they retreating?" "Confirmed, Admiral. Enemy vessels are disengaging and falling back toward the outer system. Wait. New contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. Human signatures. It's the colony fleets." Sarah's heart leaped. The ships she had left scattered. The vessels that were supposed to be bait were arriving. Not 70 ships, but over 200 reinforcements from every colony and outpost in human space. They must have ignored her orders, must have decided Earth was more important than their own safety. The colonial fleet struck the retreating Vex like an avalanche. Caught between three forces, unable to coordinate effectively without their command ships. The enemy swarm finally broke. Individual vessels attempted to escape, but humanity's ships pursued relentlessly, exacting vengeance for every world threatened, every ship lost. By the time the battle ended, fewer than 300 Vex vessels remained. They fled into faster-than-light travel, scattering in all directions, no longer a fleet, but a collection of defeated survivors. Sarah slumped in her command chair, suddenly aware of how much she was shaking. Around her, the bridge crew was cheering, crying, embracing each other. They had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won. "Damage reports," she said, her voice hoarse. The numbers were sobering. 193 human ships destroyed, millions of casualties, colonies damaged or destroyed. The cost had been enormous, but Earth still stood. Humanity still existed, and somewhere in the expanding debris field that had once been the Vex command cluster, the remains of an ancient ship drifted, its mission finally complete. "Admiral, we're receiving a recorded transmission. It's tagged with Captain Webb's identification code. Time to transmit after the battle concluded." Sarah straightened. "Play it." Webb's face appeared one final time, recorded before his final attack. He looked calm, at peace, in a way Sarah had never seen before. "If you're hearing this, it means the plan worked. Earth survived. I don't know how many Vex you destroyed or what the cost was, but I know you're still there. That's all that matters. I spent 342 years fighting in the darkness, protecting people who didn't know I existed, defending a world that had forgotten I ever left. Some might call that tragic. I call it the greatest honor of my life. But my war is over now. Your war, humanity's war, is just beginning. The Vex you defeated today were just one fleet among many. There are others out there, other enemies, other threats. You'll need to be vigilant, to stay strong, to never stop advancing. Don't let my sacrifice, or the sacrifice of the other 49 captains from the Exodus Initiative, be in vain. Build better ships, develop better weapons, forge alliances with other species. Become the protectors of this galaxy, not just its victims. And remember something important. You don't have to face the darkness alone anymore. You have each other. You have the colonies, the fleets, the combined strength of all humanity. Use it wisely. To whoever leads Earth's defense in the centuries to come, I leave you with this final thought. Vigilance is not paranoia. Preparation is not cowardice. And sacrifice, true sacrifice, is not death. It's knowing that others will live because you dared to stand when no one else could. My name is Captain Marcus Webb of the Guardian Protocol. I have been away for quite some time, but I'm finally coming home. Take care of our world. It's worth every second I spent defending it." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge, broken only by quiet sobbing from several crew members. Sarah stood, her body aching, her uniform torn and blood-stained, but her head held high. "Mark these coordinates. I want a memorial built here at the site of Captain Webb's final battle. And I want the names of all 50 Exodus Initiative captains engraved on it. They saved us all, and we will never forget them again." She looked out the viewport at Earth, hanging beautiful and blue in the distance. Damaged but alive. Threatened but undefeated. The Vex would return someday. Other enemies would rise. The darkness between stars would always hold dangers humanity couldn't imagine. But they would be ready. They had been given time, purchased at a price too high to calculate, and they would not waste it. The shadows had spread across the stars, but humanity had learned to fight in the darkness. And they had learned they were never truly alone, that sometimes heroes emerged from the past to save the future. Captain Marcus Webb had come home at last, and he had brought humanity with him.